What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. This is episode 76. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co host, Mr. Chris Rivers. Chris, how's your week been?
Busy.
Busy?
Yeah. Busy. Plus, Tyler, just so you know, if you're looking for the train station, it's that way. Um, we'll get to that when we talk about Miss Marvel.
hmm
But no, it's first full week at the new job, so it was kind of, and I got hit with allergies,
Yeah,
so
it's
I
it's
felt I
bad
felt
for everybody.
felt cruddy all week. I'm
Yeah.
still coughing,
hmm
so
It's water and if Mucinex works for you or Nyquil, best thing for it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's everybody's different, and yeah, my wife had it last week. I come and go with mine,
Uh-huh.
just because I try to stay outside and walk some and things like that. But like right now, I sound congested, but I don't feel congested, so I don't know
Right.
what's going on there. But it's good old Tennessee weather,
Yeah.
and especially with these pop up storms, it's not helping anything at all. So
No. So how was your week?
it's been good. A lot of Peaky Blinders, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Stranger Things. I'm trying to think anything else crazy happened this week. No, I got some good news about a new podcast we'll talk about as well that I'm ecstatic to watch and listen to coming up in the next
Hmm.
couple of weeks. But no, it's just been a normal work week. Nothing crazy.
Nothing
Nothing.
crazy.
I have not been doing anything crazy exciting. Like I was talking to my wife, and like I haven't even played video games that much because there's not really anything right now that's got its claws in me that I just have to play and put hours in. I'm just been reading some. I got Zachary Levi's book. We talked about that on last week's
Yeah.
podcast, and came out that week. I hadn't started it yet because I'm still reading Reggie Fils-Aime's from Nintendo, the president
Uh-huh.
of Nintendo of America's book. Still reading it, and then I'm doing the Zachary Levi one. But I just thought it was very funny. We got it, and I texted a picture of it, and I said, "Yeah, I blame you for this one." So,
Yeah.
other than that, nothing crazy this week. It's just been a normal work week. We got July 4th coming up, so I hope everyone has a nice little holiday
Mhm.
break. And are you off tomorrow for July 4th?
And the next day. Yeah, we get Monday
Wow.
and Tuesday
Look
off,
at
so
you. That's going to be
yeah.
some fun. I just have Monday
Mm.
off, so I'll be doing normal things. Hopefully, we can see some fireworks later tonight, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see if anyone's doing it in the neighborhood or not. So,
Mm.
quick housekeeping before we get into the meat and buns of the show. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting
What?
service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube and give us a good rating for your podcasting app, whichever one you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know how we can improve the show. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values and a lot of different goodies in each different tier as you go up those tiers. So if you want to do that, it's much appreciated. TV. Let's get into it. I hinted a little bit. I've been watching Peaky Blinders. I'm trying to get caught up on it and finish it out. I am in season 3, almost done with season 3, and it's easy because they're only 6 episodes long. But the sixth
Hmm.
season just came out, which was the final one. So I'm trying to get back up to it, and I'm trying to get back all that knowledge because it's been 3 or 4 years since I've seen the last season. So
Right.
and then we watched Stranger Things, the last part of Volume 4. I was telling you before we were recording, I enjoyed it, but there was a whole. I'm not as high as everyone else is on it. Like I feel like there was a lot of fluff that they could have cut out, and it would have
Yeah.
been a lot better. I mean, the volume 2 of season 4 was only 2 episodes. The first one was an hour and a half, and the second one was 2.5 hours. So I'm like, they could have cut a lot of fluff out and left all that in volume 1, and I'd have been fine. But I mean, now we've got to wait 2 years for season 5, and these kids are only going to get older. And I imagine they're going to start filming next year. So I'm like, what do we do here? But
Yeah.
we will see.
That's
We will
rough.
see. So,
Rough. Yeah.
what about you? Watch
I
anything?
uh, I finally finished this season of The Rookie,
Mm.
which stars Nathan Fillion. Also, Jenna Dewan
Oh.
is in that as his girlfriend Bailey. Of course, she's also on Superman and Lois as Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know she's going to have a fallback option when the show craters because of
Right.
bad decisions. But
Oh, well, we're getting
hey,
there. I've got articles to read. let's run right into that. Superman and Lois, season 2, episode 15, which was season 2 finale, titled "Waiting for Superman." Now, quick overview before we get into it. We finally got our answer of why no one in the Arrowverse is helping Superman and or Lois. We'll talk about that after the episode because I've got a whole article to read that kind of debunks and says why it's nonsense. But like I was telling you before we recorded, the first 15 minutes and a lot of the show to me, a lot of the episode to me felt off. Like it did not feel like it was their best, and it's the finale, and it should feel like the best. And like there's a lot of I don't know plot holes I would say, but a lot of things that I did not agree with. But like the first 15 minutes, like I felt like the acting was off. I felt like the CGI was not well done. And we've talked about before when we had the episode of the Bizarro world. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
the red film. I don't like the red film, the tint, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of that. And then they had that this whole episode, and then also the flashes, and like if things like from the other worlds switching and going like that. But they did it all the time. I just couldn't. Like I was like, I can't watch this. This is it hurts my eyes, and I'm not even like epileptic or anything like that. And I was like,
Right.
this I did not like it, but this was I don't know. Like I'm going to I think I'm going to have to watch this when it comes to when I get on DVD or Blu-ray with digital and watch through it all together without any of these breaks, kind of like how I did this first season, and maybe that will help it. But I don't right now because I watched this Friday night, this episode, and
Yeah.
this is Sunday as we're recording, and I was just like, I still don't feel that high on it. Like if I had to give it out of our letterbox scores, I'd give it like a 2.5 or 3 maybe for this finale, and I don't like feeling that way. So hopefully I could go back and rewatch it all when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to HBO Max or something like that. But as of right now, I'm not high on this episode, and especially because of the discovery they talked about with the Arrowverse. So
Yeah.
which we
Yeah.
were definitely talking about.
They definitely could have toned back the red tint
Mm,
a little bit. Because when you have a regular, what we refer to as a regular or yellow sun,
mm-hmm.
it's not tinted yellow.
No, we don't live like we don't do how they do when you go to Mexico or something in TV. Like they put that
Yeah.
yellow film on and makes it old. It's I don't know old looking, but
Yeah. They could have done something different there for sure. It is distracting after so long.
mm-hmm. We're going to comicbookresources.com by Sam Stone for this quick recap. The fate of the two worlds hangs in the balance during the Superman and Lois season 2 finale as the villainous Ally Alston continues to merge the inverted world and the prime Earth and is poised to subjugate them both. Still recovering from his previous confrontation with Ally, Superman makes some drastic choices to save the day. Unfortunately, the Man of Tomorrow is not alone. And by the end of the episode, the Kent family has a new status quo that provides interesting new directions for Superman and Lois to go into its upcoming third season, to say the least. Um, as the Kent and Irons family contemplate their next moves in the face of Steele's continued absence, Tal-Rho approaches him to join forces against a mutual threat. We knew this was coming. Like when he
Hmm.
disappeared, I was like, he's going to come back for the finale, save the day. I thought he was going to die. He did not. Gladly, I
No.
really like Tal-Rho, but again, I've got a lot of bones to pick when we get towards the end of the episode for him.
Mm.
Um, this conversation is tabled by Lois being transported to the inverted world where she reunites with her father Sam Lane, deciding to find someone who can help them against Ally on this side. Tal attempts to stop Ally from merging the worlds on his own, but she easily defeats him and begins draining his powers, accelerating the merge before Tal is barely saved by Jordan Kent. This is one thing I too had an issue with because Superman was drained of all his powers, and I feel like she didn't. How am I trying to say this? She drained him the same amount as Superman, and he still had his powers, was able to fly and do everything else. So, but Jamie was like, I don't think it was that long. But I'm like, I mean, she's sitting there between these worlds. She's got both hands draining Tal's powers, and I'm like, he shouldn't have his powers anymore. But
Yeah. I
it's a
see what
small
you
gripe for me.
no, I see what you're saying because in the aftermath of that, he still can do everything that he could do before. It was like it just
Yeah,
weakened him for a
yeah,
little bit, and it it's a little inconsistent. I think the only thing you could maybe argue is um, in the lead up to Superman having that happen with her, he had been on the Bizarro world for a
Mm,
while,
I'm
so
still
maybe
drained
he was
from it.
already a little bit weak,
Yeah,
but still,
yeah.
it's
It's there's a lot of like the small little nitpicks like that this episode, and
yeah,
I'll bring them up and everything. Just personally, Natalie Irons modifies her steel armor to endure traveling into the portal between worlds and rescues her father, finding him adrift but still very much alive. The two Steels decide to redirect their power towards destroying the portal and hinder Ali's progress at the probable cost of their own lives. Meanwhile, Superman convinces Tao to take him to the sun in a desperate bid to restore his powers, with Tao flinging him directly into the sun at Kal-El's request, um, which they hinted at a couple episodes ago.
so
Them doing.
so the first part of this though, with with Steel being up there,
Mm-hmm.
imagine that you're floating in space and you don't know that you're going to get saved. And
Right.
there have been instances, I don't know if it's ever happened with an American. I think it happened as part of the Russian program where they were somehow cut loose and they drifted out into space and were
Mm.
never seen again.
Yeah.
And you just imagine you're out there in that void and eventually the oxygen runs out,
Yeah. It
you know.
just it's no
But
sound. No.
but until that, you're just looking at everything knowing you're gonna die.
Right. Can't stop
That'd
yourself from
be
moving one direction or anything.
right.
Mm-mm.
That'd be kind of
Yeah.
creepy.
That scene of them, of all the steals, this episode was very CGI and did not look good to me.
Right.
And from what I'm trying to understand, like it was all post production, this COVID stuff for CGI things. And I don't feel like they did hardly any work on. There was a very cool scene we're coming up on with Superman that you could tell they spent a lot of time on,
Hmm.
but I kind of wish they would have done something a little bit more. Like it just, I don't know, it feels very early 2000s y CGI.
Right.
This episode did. Superman's, let me see. Sam and Kyle Cushing are transported back to the Prime World and reunited with their respective families, with Sam pointing out that he's caught glimpses of other universes and is confident in Superman saving the day. I'm going to stop it here because this is where we get our Arrowverse confirmation that somehow we're in a different world, which I don't know if this is the time I want to bring it up. Um,
Yeah. Basically, he says he's been to. It's when he's talking to the boys, right? To
yeah, he
Jordan and
says
Jonathan.
you don't know what we see at the DoD. He said I've seen other universes, some with their own legion of superheroes,
Right.
and he says and we've only got Superman here, and he's our only hero.
Yeah.
So like so we can only believe in him. And this was our first. I mean, it's just the season 2 finale, but this is kind of like our first confirmation of there not being a part of the Arrowverse, even though we're using the same actors, actresses,
Right.
and storylines still kind of merge over. I'll go to talk about it. I'm going to. Oh crap! I just clicked off of that. Let me go. I'm going to
So let
telltale.tv.com.
while you're pulling that up, let me ask this question: do you think this is as big a deal to viewers, ourselves included, if we had not already witnessed the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline?
Yes, like I get they're trying to stand on their own, but here's the thing too: we've got Diggle that
Right.
mentions everything that we already know about, and this is what so telltaletv.com. They're the ones that come out, and this is by Shelby Elpers. They points out all the inconsistencies that they're trying to prove here. As the pressure builds while the world emerges, the superhero show finally reveals its place outside the Arrowverse after 2 seasons of questions and hints otherwise. Doppelgangers like Lucy Lane, who were previously easily explained as a side effect of Crisis, like Clark and Lois's teenage sons, now have a new meaning. They're entirely different versions of those characters. This reveal partly retcons the show's previous, albeit loose, references to the Arrowverse, specifically Crisis, and especially with John Diggle, who appeared on season 1, episode 12, through the Valleys of Death. On that episode, John Diggle told Sam Lane that he fought beside Superman and Oliver, and the rest of them would have saved Superman is the best that they have. Superman and Lois doesn't explicitly name Crisis or the other heroes as references, however. Considering the show's timing after the epic crossover event and David Ramsey's guest appearance, it was easy to put the pieces together until now. Like, I mean, I don't. I,
To mention, not to mention that Tyler Hoechlin portrays Superman on multiple episodes of Supergirl
yeah, and Crisis. Same thing with Lois
and
Lane. She was a
Crisis.
part of all of it too. The same Bitsy Tulloch was. So I'm just like, it makes no sense to me. And this is one of the things that we talked about this week before either one of us have seen the episode. Of a lot of people are writing this show off for this decision.
Well, it goes back to what we've discussed, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but what we've discussed with DC for so long. They'll go down a path and then they change
Mm-hmm.
course mid-path, and after it's bad enough with films, but when you've invested yourself in 2 seasons of a TV show, what, 30 total episodes ish, now you're being told everything you believed you were buying into
Mm-hmm.
is no more. We're
Yeah, we're
not
just gonna
doing that.
ignore it.
Yeah, we're completely ignoring it. I'm Here's what I think happens. I think that the fan backlash, to whatever degree it reaches, is enough that probably combined with lower ratings next year,
Mm-hmm.
that they have to reverse course and then they start hot shotting some cameos of
Well,
people from the Arrowverse into the show.
it depends if like the Flash comes back. I mean, all we got right now is technically Stargirl, Flash, and Superman and Lois. They're the only ones that are coming back for more seasons. So
Yeah, but they could always bring, like, they could have Katie Lotz make an appearance.
I wish.
They could have Melissa Benoist make an appearance.
Right.
Even if they don't go that route, they could have Makad Brooks
Mm-hmm.
as Jimmy show up. They could do stuff
As his
like that.
best friend, and
Right.
oh, like it's the whole crisis thing was so stuff like this would never happen in the future of
Hmm.
multiple Earths and things like that. And the fact that they're retconning it, and what makes me so mad is the whole Diggle point. He mentions Green Arrow, Oliver, and Superman and Lois fighting with all of them, and now we're supposed to believe that that never happened, or what? And then they even future spoilers for this episode go in to put Diggle again at the end of this episode, working for Argus. No
Yeah.
mention of the ring, no mention of anything.
Yeah.
And because I mean, the last episode that he was in season one was he talked about the ring. He had to go to Gotham to figure out more about the ring and
Hmm.
alluded to the Green Lantern. And I guess they have just scrapped that project and said, we're not doing that anymore.
And
Which,
that's fine if they don't want to do that,
right.
but don't retcon everything to the point that your show has now lost the credibility that it
Mm-hmm.
had. And if there's no connection to anything else, why am I here? Why
Yeah.
am I watching?
It's
So,
going back to the episode, Superman's solar gambit not only restores his power, but noticeably supercharges them, allowing him to swiftly save the Steels and stop the merger. When Allie confronts him and attempts to drain him again, she finds Superman's power boost to be overwhelming and is separated back into two individual beings before being taken back into custody.
that was such a great scene
God.
when she's draining him and then he takes her hand and puts it
Yeah,
directly
he
on his
says, "Here's some
chest and
more."
says, "Take some more."
Right. Oh,
And she-
did he looked like the Injustice character? I don't know if anyone's ever played it, but like this has the just the noticeable blue and red suit, but like he's got
Mhm.
these yellow sparks and lines and energy flowing across him. But my big problem is, Chris, if this supercharges him, I mean, who's going to be able to beat him? If he ever needs, if he's ever not strong enough, why can't he just fly back into the sun and come back down?
Mhm.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll try and explain that, or they might just forget about it and not even care about it anymore.
That's always the question for Superman with the way that he was written for years is how can he be beaten?
Right.
And I mean they killed him off once and that didn't even stick.
Yeah.
So,
He came back.
yeah, it lasted I think a year
Right.
in real world. So,
Dude, it's
I don't know.
but when he does all that and then comes down to Earth as like they're about to be completely merged, and he just ground pounds the ground, flies straight into it. and the worlds
Hmm.
separate. That was such a cool scene, and I was really glad that they did it. Still didn't pay off like the episode for me, but that was very, very, very well done. And Tyler Hoechlin's acting during the sun scene where he's absorbing it and burning up, and he's going through all the past little clips and things of his life. Very well done, and then him punching the ground was really cool. Um,
That's to me, that's kind of the tragedy's not the right word. That's too serious a word, but you've got this great cast
mm-hmm.
and you've got a fan base wanting to embrace this show, and then they're going to make decisions like they just made.
Yeah.
And it's just going to, I'm not going to be surprised if the ratings never reach where they were this year again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's the breaks don't help it. I mean, unfortunately, they don't.
No, they don't.
They're gonna have to figure something out with all that. So we still have more to this episode. In a public ceremony in Smallville, Lana Lang congratulates Superman on saving the world once again and commemorates the date as a holiday known as Miracle Monday. While incognito as Clark Kent, he and Lana reconcile while Lois admits to Cressy Beppo that her husband is Superman. Again, I don't like Cressy Beppo, but this might have been my favorite performance of her in the whole 2 seasons. When she
Hmm.
was standing on the sidewalk looking at him, and he was like, "She's been staring at me weird all day, all night,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to work on that." I just thought it was the way she like cut her eyes real quick and everything, and put all of it
Hmm.
together. I was like, finally, we don't have, we're revealing things, but now you don't have anybody to reveal anything to the next season, which is fine. So,
Well, Kyle still doesn't know.
oh, I got Kyle. See, he needs to know, and he's gonna be portrayed. He's gonna be a villain at some point. I could see it just because of this path that they're going down. Let's see. Jordan and Sarah Cortez have their own heart to heart now that Sarah knows about Jordan's powers, and the two decide to rekindle the relationship now that both have matured, while Lana and Kyle face their own relationship crossroads. Hated it. Hated it. Like the whole first half of the episode, her and her family were dying to find Kyle, looking
Yeah.
everywhere for Kyle. But now he asked for a dance, and not like, hey, let's get remarried or anything. Hey, can we, do you want to dance? And she blows up on him. She's like, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point of all this ever again. And then he just goes, well, how
So,
about a last dance? I was like, okay, all right, bud.
so I liked it.
Oh, Chris.
I liked it because what I liked about it was that, yeah, it drove home the point that, you know, she's always gonna, she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. She's always gonna care about him.
Mm,
But she's not just gonna, so many shows at the end of an episode like this, wrapping up a season, would have had them just get back together and okay, all's forgiven.
right.
And they didn't go down that road. She says, I don't know that I'll ever be able to trust you again.
Mm,
And so he kind of gets that push off where he'll still be there. And it could also be a budget thing. This way that he doesn't have to be in every episode. They can
right.
have him pop up doing stuff with the girls, trim the fat a little bit there, but I don't know. I'm like you though. I think he gets turned at some point. Someone plays upon his desire to get his family back together.
Mm-hmm.
He gets
And
turned.
then, like, she'll never love you again because her first love, Clark, is now also Superman, and
Right.
put that little bug in his head. I
Uh-huh.
could see it. Somehow, somewhere
And
there's a
and
mind control.
and his daughter's in love with Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
Superman's son.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
So you all just be one happy family together. You don't even need me.
And maybe it's Allie that comes back
Oh, they
and
left
starts.
they left that door open.
They did.
Don't like her. I think she was a very poor villain. Anyways,
Is it just me, or even with the lights draining her powers, would you not put her in separate cells?
right? Why would you put them together? Uh, Especially where they can hold hands like they did. That doesn't make any
Must have
sense to
been
me at all.
must have been budget concerns.
Yeah, and then at the end of the episode, Tal gives Jordan and Jonathan Kent their own pickup trucks before deciding to resettle on the inverted world for a chance at a fresh start. Do you think we see him come back, or do you think he's done?
Yeah. No, I think he comes back.
Yeah, I hope so. I really enjoyed like he had a little cheesy line in there at this episode where he says he goes, I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it because I love your family or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, a little cheesy, but I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Maybe a mid-season cliffhanger where he just shows up out of the blue and says, "I I know of an impending danger" or something like that.
I mean, we're still.
Yeah.
This is. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, crisis is not a thing. So there's multiple worlds. He can live in the Bizarro world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Back at Smallville, John Henry Irons is approached by John Diggle, who inquires about why Bruno Mannheim killed the John Henry of this world and why he is here. But after the Kent family takes a moment to appreciate surviving the harrowing experience they just endured, Superman constructs a new fortress in the middle of the ocean, offering his whole family a place where they could get away and recollect themselves closer and stronger together. The John Diggle thing, sure, that's how we're going to keep the plot line for John Henry Irons. Whether Diggle's in it a lot more next season or if he's just a couple episodes a thing. The new fortress is cool. I don't understand how Lois and Jonathan are going to get there though.
Jonathan's question, right? He
Yeah.
said, what about those of us that can't fly or something like
Right.
that? And
I was like,
but
okay.
yeah, yeah. It did kind of bring up an interesting point though, and I know they've touched on it at times, um, but especially now that they've made the decision they've made for Superman to be that Earth's only hero.
Right.
There is no family vacation
No.
because there's always somebody that could use his help,
He's the only hero.
and that's what he's going to have to teach Jordan is you can't be everywhere.
Yeah. Well, now we've got
You know?
the Irons family too, though, so they can
Yeah.
help, I guess. But I mean, no one is supercharged Superman at this point.
Right.
So, but that concludes our Superman and Lois recap for this season. Of course, they will be back about the same time next year for season 3. I'm hoping no more gaps, and hopefully we get a little bit of a tight. I want a better villain. Tal Rowe last season, I feel like was a good villain. Like that
Yeah.
was a very different way of storytelling. This Bizarro stuff, it was high with Bizarro Superman, and then I feel like it kept going down with Alec Alston. I just didn't. It wasn't very believable for me.
Don't you think, especially in case it is the last season, that they have to go Lex?
They had to, especially since we're not doing John Cryer as Lex Luthor. I'm assuming.
Right.
So, I would hope so.
I mean, why not?
I'd be okay with it.
Or Zod.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be a good one too. He's kind of still do the same storyline with Tal Rowe.
I don't know if they could do the budget, or with the budget, if they could do a proper Doomsday
Yeah.
or Darkseid.
We thought we had Doomsday this season, or Darkseid. We thought we had one of those two, but Bizarro. All right, Miss Marvel episode 4, titled "Seeing Red." I'm going to denofgeek.com, and this is by Kirsten Howard. In Seeing Red, Kamala and her mother travel to Karachi to visit with her elderly nanny, so Bruno, Nakia, and the rest of the cons sit this one out. Muniba has a strained relationship with her mother because of her fantastical theories swamped Muniba's childhood experiences and made her feel isolated, but it's clear that they still have a strong connection and can be close to patching things up, especially some of those theories turn out to be true in the very near future. At this point in her life, Nani seems to have ceased trying to explain them, hinting to Kamala that less of that stuff is important compared to the real outcomes of the Bengals' powers, and that they can probably figure it out together, but saying, if you have lived like I have, lost what I have, you learn to find beauty in the broken pieces. Let's see. After some family visits and tourist activities with her cousins, Kamala makes her way to the train station in Karachi to do some investigating, where she wears her new mask for the first time. Looked great, by the way. I really enjoyed that. Thrilling enough, but we'll have to wait until at least next week before we finally see her fully costumed up. There's also a nice little Avengers connection at the station where a mural celebrates the moxie of Ant-Man. Scott Lang really is going to be the glue holding Phase 4 together, huh? There's no time to think too hard because Kamala is soon ambushed by Kareem, aka Red Dagger. He has sensed Kamala's Noor power and has assumed she's a clandestine. We then get a little mistaken identity battle between them that feels a little flirty and that continues as they trade barbs later on, which I thought this scene was really cool. The little blades, I don't know what you call those weapons, but the little throwing knives that came out, and their little fight scene was very very small, but I thought it was well orchestrated, because like he would hit her little constructs and that she'd fall through them. Then she'd make a little construct where she fell only a little bit, and he
Yeah.
kept falling. I thought that was kind of cool how they did that. A vibrant scene with the red daggers then fills us in on a little bit of clandestine nonsense. Since Kamala is still stuck on the hard to swallow thought that she might in some way be a classic Jinn from various tall tales, Red Dagger leader Waleed is here to knock that away by saying that if Thor landing in the Himalayas, he would have also been labeled a Jinn too. Things that get a little bit more negative zony as Waleed explains how our dimension and the dimension that the clandestine come from are layered on top of each other. Again, this is another multiverse situation, and it's hard not to say the parallels in it. Um, let's see. If the clandestines succeed in pulling down the Nor veil that separates them, we're all screwed. The stakes are now pretty high for Kamala, who must learn Aisha's secret and how to properly control the Nor energy. We learn that because she's part human, that may also give her an advantage. We've also seen that Kamala may be able to travel to the other dimensions using her power, and I'm wondering if that will be where Miss Marvel's final battle takes place. Meanwhile, the clandestine easily escapes from the DoDC's Supermax jail, which is our first time seeing or even hearing about this, right? That was very that was new. So
Yeah.
we'll see who else is there. I don't know who would be. But the way they had them transported was cool at first. Then I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would he do them all one by one and not in some secret little sewer? But I digress. This all leads to an extensive chasing. We've seen a lot of chases in the MCU, but at least this one feels a little fresh thanks to its backdrop. At no point did I feel Kamala was actually in danger, though. The show's peril is largely neutered with the knowledge that Kamala will go on for a feature in next year's The Marvels. While Lee is the one who bites it instead while trying to save Kamala and Kareem. R.I.P. Wally, we hardly knew ye. We literally okay, alright, a little fluff there. When Kamala and Najma tussle, the bangle gets a blade stuck in it, and Kamala is transported to a partition. We can now hopefully find out what happened to Aisha. My guess is that when she betrayed Najma and used the bangle to help her human family escape instead of her clandestine one, Aisha either got straight up murdered by Najma or got stuck between dimensions. Miss Marvel will surely reveal this backstory next week and slide into affect Kamala deeply. Good episode. I really enjoyed the whole little. There's a family in Pakistan that, well, like a group, the Red Daggers, that are protecting the world over there and from the Nor. I thought that was kind of cool. The whole little secret hideout was really well done, where he messes with the grill and the wall opens up as a door. I love little secret doors like that. I want one in my house somewhere, but I thought that was very cool. Fight scenes were great. While Lee dying was a little too soon, I feel like they could have waited a little bit till next episode to kill him off, and it would have been a little bit more personable. But curious to see where we go from here. I really, really, really enjoyed the family parts of this episode, and that's all Miss Marvel pretty much is a family show showing the dynamics of it all. And I feel like we got a lot of good dialogue between the mom and grandmother, and even the mom and Kamala. So
Yeah, definitely. The little bit of humor. You have the guy taking Polaroids of people in the
yes,
marketplace, and then she asks him for directions to the train station, and he starts going, "You go down here and you go left," and he sticks his right arm out.
right,
Like you go left, and then you take another left, and then you take another, and then a right, and
right.
then you veer left, and then you
Go down just a
take
little
another.
bit.
And yeah, and she's just like, uh,
Yeah, but she
um,
finds it though. So whether his directions
she
or not, I don't know.
she finds it definitely. It was a really fun. These episodes, they move at such a good pace
Yes.
that I think we're about halfway through, and the credits start rolling,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm disappointed every time.
Yep.
It's and she, I don't think she has any previous acting experience,
I think when I looked her up, I didn't see anything
or very
crazy.
little. Uh, but her face is very expressive.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the expressions that she gives in reaction to other characters' lines or actions are really great because
This is it. This is all of her acting experience.
yeah, it really it brings it to life a little bit more with those reactions that she's able
Mm-hmm.
to give. Um, she's got a strong cast around her, which is really good for it to be her first thing.
Yeah.
Um, I did miss the dad in this.
Yes. And the brother. I missed the brother.
Yeah, yeah. More so the dad for me, but yeah. Um, and Bruno, of course.
Mm-hmm. Or Spider-Man,
But
or what could have been
yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah. Interesting. If he'd gotten Spider-Man, would Tom Holland be in this role?
See, makes you think. But I can't imagine anybody other than Spider-Man being our or Tom Holland being our MCU Spider-Man, personally.
I did expect, just because of the way that they had it, like the tone at one point, um, when she was coming back to the house. I think it's when she finds her grandmother on the balcony. I expected she was going to find her dead.
Mm,
Like, I thought they were going to do the thing where she comes back, her grandmother has kind of achieved what she needed to achieve, which was to get her back
right.
so that she could learn the next steps, and then she passes away. I'm glad they didn't do that. That would have
Yeah.
been kind of depressing.
Well,
But
see,
it
now we're
for a
back in the past, though, and we're going to find out what happened with her. The Trail of Stars thing is what it was called.
hmm
And I'm curious to see how they play this because I'm really excited because not a lot of Americans or not a whole lot of people know about the partition. And the only reason I know about it is from Doctor Who, which is funny
yeah,
because I watched that 2 weeks ago and it's the only reason I know about
yeah.
it. So we're about to get us a good history lesson. I'm excited about it. All right.
I am curious. I am curious of one thing though, and I don't know. I haven't looked at the viewership numbers
Mm,
for this, but this is two series in a row now where we're over in other lands,
mm-hmm.
and I wonder if that's going to have an impact on casual viewers that are just
That's true.
dropping in.
It's a good question. I know this is one of the lowest viewed MCU shows.
Do
So
you think that's because there's not a star attached?
I can see that. I mean, Moon Knight was the
Because we
same
had
way.
Oscar Isaac
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, good point.
and Ethan
And
Hawke.
yeah, so that's a very good point. So I'm sure there's like a whole lot that affects into it, and like I mean, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, my cousins like I just don't have any interest in seeing it. They said just let us know if it ties in. I said we'll tie into Captain Marvel, but I mean, we still have what a year and a half until that one comes out. So
Probably, yeah.
I'm like, so far, I don't really tie in besides Avenger Con, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I want one. All right, now for the fun one, and I really, again, The Boys season 3, episode 7. Here comes a candle to light you to bed. We all know it's going to be a good episode when they start off with that disclaimer again. There's no animals,
Mhm.
humans, it was all in consent or CGI. And when they put that up there, that's okay. Something crazy is going to happen again. And sure enough, we're going to EW.com again by Alex Raymond for this recap. Last week's explosive episode ended with Starlight handing in her cape and exposing Vought and Homelander's dirty secrets via Instagram Live. So naturally, this week's episode opens with a nauseating fake news broadcast from the Vought News Network, in which Vought CEO Ashley attempts to smear Starlight's reputation. That foster home Starlight founded to be for orphan children, Ashley claims is a front for Starlight's child trafficking organization, painting a popular liberal blonde woman as a sex trafficker. Where have we seen this before? Speaking of Vought's war
Yep.
against women, we finally learned that Maeve has been the last few episodes trapped in a Vought prison cell. Homelander pays Maeve a visit in an attempt to obtain intel on Soldier Boy's whereabouts, but she doesn't crack. Maeve asks Homelander why he's keeping her alive and immediately regrets asking, as Homelander admits he plans on harvesting her eggs so he can produce children with her. Maeve is horrified, but she bites back by telling Homelander that this still isn't this is still a top 3 day of her life, as it's the first time she's ever seen him scared. Like so,
And I just
that's awesome. I mean,
for that
oh,
to be his for that to be his reason, and there's no way they could have timed this out.
correct.
Just after the Supreme Court overturns Roe,
I mean, they filmed
you
this two
have
years ago, so
yeah, you have a character, a male character telling a female character basically, no matter what you do, I'm going to reproduce with you against
hmm
your will.
I'm just here for you. You're just kept alive for your eggs to make my children.
Yeah,
Because how
yeah.
superpowered they would be, which is true. If Superman and Wonder Woman ever had a kid together, could you imagine how strong that kid would be? And
Yeah.
I wonder if this actually happens or if it gets kind
I
of
did
stopped beforehand.
I did like her line though when she said that she will break off anything he puts in her.
Mm-hmm. He said, "I
Like,
don't need anything. I just need dregs." So, dude, it was like she goes, "Is that concealer? Do you have a bruise?" And Anthony Starr again, just his emotions, like he displays for a half a second, and then he regains
uh-huh.
composure. I'm like, dude, I am so fearful of him. Elsewhere in Soupland, Kimiko and Frenchie are still recovering from their near-death experience with little Nina. Frenchie's coping with drugs, and Kimiko is coping by planning her next move, asking Starlight to get her some Compound V, the permanent stuff, so she can regain her powers. Starlight tries to talk Kimiko out of it, but Kimiko has made up her mind, so Starlight eventually agrees to help her out. We check in with Butcher and Huey working on finding the next target on Soldier Boy's hit list, a psychic soup named Mindstorm. Butcher's having trouble locating him, but when Huey learned that Mindstorm is bipolar, he gets the idea to find him by tracking his prescription of lithium, reminding us that Huey's most valuable asset isn't his V24 enabled teleporting skills, but his intelligence. Very well done. This is also this part where we see Homelander having relations with some elderly women, and we see some elderly body parts. Soldier Boy, excuse me.
Yeah.
Having these these relations, and I love Jensen Ackles. I just know these are hard scenes for him to record. They have to be, or they're just really fun because he's cover your ears, kids, but he's masturbating, and then there's two old women.
Yeah.
And Huey and Butcher come in the room. And it's, oh great, did you bring the lube? He says the older they get, the more lube you need. I was like, okay. This is where we're going.
It's like I can't go in dry.
Right. And then both of the old women walk out as they're talking about this whole the Mindstorm. I was like, come on, man, this show is so great. Like this show is top 10. I mean, there's no way it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey zero in on Mindstorm, but when they near his woodland compound, Butcher is caught by Mindstorm. He uses his powers to trap Butcher in a psychic prison where he's forced to relive his childhood trauma. But the stakes here aren't just emotional unless Mindstorm chooses to wake Butcher up or he'll die. Phenomenal. Like, I loved every single bit of how the whole Butcher Mindscape thing was done, because like they would do it and we get flashes of him and Huey. And it was like, this was so good. And like, it was just not even just of him and Huey, but his whole life that we've seen these 3 seasons. And like, we've got his dad in the future and his brother. We finally found out what happened to his brother. His brother killed himself because he couldn't deal with it since Butcher left.
And of course, it's foreshadowing a decision he has to make later.
Yes.
And once again, Butcher follows his past path.
Mm-hmm. It says it's for the better good. A powerless witness to his memories, Butcher watches his father physically abuse his teenage self and puts himself in the line of fire to protect his little brother Lenny. The truly heartbreaking part of this storyline is watching Butcher turn into his father, mimicking his dad's violent tendencies by attacking his high school principal and echoing his father's words by telling his brother, "You can't be a puff all your life." We watch a young Butcher run away from home, leaving Lenny alone with his abusive dad, and when Lenny can't take the beatings anymore, Butcher watches Lenny find his father's gun and take his own life. There's a clear lesson Butcher should be taking from this. He abandoned Lenny, and he can't make the same mistake with Huey. But will Butcher learn his lesson, or will he perpetrate the cycle of trauma he's trapped in? Butcher isn't the only one reliving his past. In this episode, we find Black Noir hiding out in an abandoned arcade, might as well be Chuck E. Cheese, to avoid Soldier Boy's inevitable retribution. But Noir's not really alone here exactly. He's accompanied by a merry bunch of 2D animated characters that lead to life out of the arcade walls, a la Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Space Jam for you millennial and Gen Z readers. By way of a bloody and bizarre stage play, Noir's animated buddies reenact his fraught history with Soldier Boy, reminding him and teaching the audience of the constant abuse he wrought on Noir in Team Payback, which ultimately led Noir to quit hiding and take Soldier Boy down. I loved this scene. Absolutely loved these scenes with the animated characters, and I thought it was a cool way to show our history with Black Noir, because they hinted at the past couple episodes that it was Black Noir's idea. Turns out it was Edgar's to get rid of him, because they've already got we got a Homelander now, so they got a new kid. They don't need this guy anymore. So very well done, and I would watch a show like that. Reminded me of Invincible and how much I want that show back. Yeah. Meanwhile, Huey and Soldier catch Mindstorm. Soldier Boy's ready to kill the soup until Huey teleports Mindstorm to the woods and convinces him to wake up Butcher in exchange for Huey, teleporting him to safety. Mindstorm holds up his end of the bargain, but before Huey can zap him away, Soldier Boy shows up and beats the ever-living shit out of Mindstorm. As Soldier Boy interrogates Mindstorm, hoping to ascertain why Vought betrayed him, he learns a crucial piece of information that's kept secret from the audience for the moment. And when Soldier Boy's got what he came for, he murders Mindstorm and just walks away. As entertaining as it is to watch the boys splatter blood, guts, and other liquids across our screens, this show is at its best when it's mirroring hard truths about what's happening in America today. That's why perhaps the most affecting part of this episode is watching Vought's fake news campaign rip apart Mother's Milk's family. When MM sees an Instagram post of his daughter Janine and her stepfather Todd at a Homelander rally, he goes to their house to confront Todd. And as Todd, fully brainwashed by fake news, goes off on MM about the establishment media and Starlight's child trafficking operation, MM loses his patience and knocks Todd unconscious. It's satisfying to watch, but it's a bad move for MM as Janine witnesses the act of violence, further widening the rift between them. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
It's not as simple as the recap there. Todd insults MM.
Mm-hmm.
He basically says, he tells Todd, his daughter, he's like, you want to go to that stuff, that's fine. You keep my kid away from it, and
then pulls the classic stepdad line.
He makes some comment about you're not you're not her father or like, something to that effect.
You're not around much to be her father or something like that. It was something along those lines. Along those lines of hurtful.
Todd's line is she needs one or something like that.
Right.
Basically saying that MM's not around and so she's not his daughter. Todd's the father.
Mm-hmm.
He had it coming.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have been mad if he'd put his head under the wheel of the car and driven over it. I mean, like, you can't be saying that stuff.
Yeah.
What got me, MM's ex was not happy that he had taken her down there either.
Right. He said, you should have told me about that. He said, it was no big deal. It's Homelander. He's going to protect us or something like that. And I'm like, oh, God. If this, so many parallels between 2020.
The only thing missing was his little red hat.
Yes, that's exactly all we were missing. And I'm really surprised they did not put anything in the show like that of some sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I don't think you have to watch the episode to see how unhinged Homelander truly is at that rally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's grasping at that point. And he's just going for anything he can go for. And even the crowd's not buying it.
Mm-mm.
They're all looking at him like, what is he talking about?
And his eyes glows red that when he thinks he sees
Soldier Boy
out in the crowd. That was like, ooh, he is so unsettling. But these people will still follow him. It's a cult.
Even what's his name off to the guy that's running for president.
Bobby.
He looks at him and says, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
And we've got one episode left.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they're going to do it.
I've got theories.
But I'm curious.
So we still have 2 more seasons of this. And I've got a new story coming up after we get done with the recap. But, I mean, they start filming soon. And all the cast and crew are down in Brazil right now, and I don't know if it's for press or if it's for filming purposes, but they all just landed in Brazil this morning. So, don't know what they're doing. You never know. Back with Starlight, we follow her into the belly of the beast, sneaking into the Vought lab and stealing Compound V for Kimiko. While in the lab, she reads a shocking report about V24, learning that it kills the user between only 3 and 5 doses. Okay, we're going to put a stop here. Butcher's over that limit capacity at this point. I think his most recent time was number 5. Huey's at 3, I think, because we had.
The problem is we don't know how long they last,
right?
For sure. But yeah, I think Butcher'd be around 4 or 5. Huey's 2 or 3.
He's at 3 for sure because we had the Russian base, Hero Gasm, and then this episode. So that's 3 for sure that I know off the top of my head. Butcher, on the other hand, he's got to be at 4, I think. 3 or 4. Oh, but
Well,
um,
and we know they're having the side effects because there's a scene in this when Huey looks at Butcher, and Butcher's like, "What?" He says, "Your brain's leaking
yeah,
again."
he's got the little
And he's
black
just,
ichor coming out of
yeah,
his ear. Yep, further alluding to this.
yeah.
Um, who we're in the 21st century. Who leaves written notes on a manila paper anymore and not in a computer system somewhere? It's Vaunt, but still. Anyways, I was like,
Yeah.
but well, what do I know? I'm not a scientist. On her way out, she runs into Homelander, who tries pressuring her into recanting her story. But Starlight isn't scared of Homelander anymore, calling him out for killing Supersonic and generally being a complete scumbag. Homelander openly admits to his crimes, which turns out to be a big mistake because Starlight's broadcasting this on Instagram Live. Oh, the power of social media. She got him. She got him so good.
Hmm.
And she was like, oh, she goes, I might be really popular, but say that to my 1.70 million followers as she walks into the thing. And he goes, oh, we shouldn't be working lines. We know no filming while we're working on lines together. Starlight, and just the doors closed. It was so good, man. Um,
Yeah.
Starlight leaves Vought and calls Huey to tell him about the dangers of V24, but he doesn't answer, so she relays the info to Butcher, making him promise to tell Huey. It's Butcher's chance to break the cycle and do for Huey what he failed to do for his brother, but when Butcher sees Huey, he doesn't tell him the truth. He takes him on a ride to score some more V24. The final moments of this episode deliver a hell of a twist as we finally learn what Mindstorm told Soldier Boy back in the forest. Vought betrayed him because they didn't need him anymore. They found someone better, a suit named Homelander, who was created from Soldier Boy's sperm. That's right, Soldier Boy is Homelander's daddy. Did not, did not see this twist coming whatsoever. And like, I don't know where they go from here. Like, my parents have finally caught up on the show, and both of them agreed that Hero Gasm was probably the best episode in all three seasons, just because it had everything story wise and um, things like that. Trying to see, though they don't even mention it during this story, but A Train is still alive, which we were talking about last week. Is he really dead or not? But the way that they were putting this character, I'm very curious to see where he goes because he has the heart of Blue Hawk now, and that's keeping him alive so he can run fast again. And Jamie and I were like, dude, how would you feel if you wake
Yeah.
up from dying or whatever, and your enemy and your race's enemy, so to speak, is their heart is beating in your chest now? Like, how would you feel about that? And I was like, I honestly don't know. I don't know how that would make me feel, but my thing with A Train now was his the way that he talked to Huey last episode about his really big apology and everything like that, understanding what he's been put three people through. Is that still going to transfer over from in the future, or is he going to continue to be A Train that we know?
The Deuce Canoe A Train.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
It's definitely weird. Like you could see it play across his face too when he found
such
out.
a
Like
like these actors are so
he
good.
he was conflicted about having that person's heart
Mm-hmm.
in his body. I also though the scene with the deep.
Oh no, I was gonna talk about that here in a minute. They do
Okay.
the EW does a stray observations. The first one is the boys' most cringeworthy storyline makes a reappearance in this episode as the Deep tries to bring an octopus in bed with his wife. This is a very relatable storyline, as I'm sure we all know what it looks like to have a significant other who's addicted to sex with cephalopods. Very. I'm glad we had this scene though, because he said, I don't really need you. You put me up. I'm doing all the hard work and everything. So he said, you just fed me some lines early on, and she's very upset about it. But it looks like she was kind of down for it, for a little bit there.
Yeah, she gave it a go, and then she went.
Mhm.
So, but this is going to be the thing. Vought is going to insist that he get her back because she really, without her, he's going to fall on his
Yeah.
face. There's no doubt about it. The imagery there
Yes.
when they pan out and you see what's happening, it's just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
really?
She
But
thinks you're hot too.
oh, it's like, oh, good for her.
You're right.
Um, it's like, no, I'm good. I'll just be celibate. Um, I don't. I think I know where this thing, because I think Homelander's going to put the pieces together.
Hmm.
He's going to say, well, as soon as I came of age and they could use me, they were ready to kill Soldier Boy. And he has a son
Yeah.
who's coming of age and has the same powers.
Hmm.
So with Homelander making all these missteps and losing his mind, how long before Vought just decides, you know what, you're not worth it anymore?
Right.
And
And
what got
pursue
me
what's his name?
is when he grabs what's her name?
Maeve.
No, Head Popper. Um,
Oh, Newman.
Newman. When he grabs Newman by the throat, I'm thinking, dude,
Yeah,
with her mind.
he does. I don't think he knows that she's head popper though.
No, he does. Remember,
Oh,
he found out. That's why she
oh,
flipped
it's
on
yeah.
Edgar. But the restraint on her to not,
I would have done just then. Been done with the whole
yeah,
storyline. Nope, we're done.
yeah.
Or blew some fingers
Well,
off or something.
the thing is, she can do that as long as she's in range of him, and he would not know it's coming.
Right. As long as she's got eye contact or she can see him, that's it.
Yeah,
They also had the legend Paul Reiser is back this week with more revoltingly iconic lines. You know, this character is based on Stan Lee. And that every
yeah.
time I see him on screen, it's all I can think about. It's just so funny. He also said, Soldier Boy did his singing what Pantyhose did to finger effing. Please keep him coming, Paul. And it seems like there's a whole lot of Perma V left in that vial after Kimiko shot herself up. I wonder who might end up using it.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? Will Frenchie use it?
Mm-hmm. Do we see someone
I
else
don't
getting it?
I don't think he will. I think Huey.
Maybe.
That may be how Huey's life gets saved.
Mm-hmm.
Is to get the permanent compound V, and then his body heals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then what does that do to Butcher? You
Right.
know, or does Huey feel guilty at that point, and he goes and gets some for Butcher? Because Butcher's always justified this with it's temporary. I'm
Right.
just using it to get this
Yeah, we're just
done,
doing
and
this
then
to kill Homelander and we're done.
yeah, but
So I thought this was a. They also didn't mention either. We got confirmation of things that like I keep forgetting. Like at Hero Gasm, the people that did not die from Soldier's Boy's blast lost all their powers. Because Homelander
yeah,
mentions it. He says, we lost so many powers during the explosion. Or we lost so many soups. I was like, oh, that's right. He does have that power. And then what else? So I think the finale is because Homelander, well, Soldier Boy tells Homelander, he goes, I would have given you the mantle. He goes, I would have easily handed it over to my son if I would have known. And that's how kind of how the episode ends. So I wonder if they're going to team up, Homelander and Soldier Boy, like a father son duo. And I just because Vought has screwed with them so much, and I don't know. I mean, that's one route I can see them taking, and I think it'd be an interesting route to take. All I know is I hope Soldier Boy is not just a one and done season, like how we had with Stormfront.
it'd be interesting, right? Because you have Soldier Boy wants to get back at Vought because
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that tried to kill him. Homelander's all of he doesn't know how to survive without Vought,
Right.
so that kind of puts him in conflict.
Well, he's also always wanted a desperate parental figure too.
Yeah,
So.
and then what if Soldier Boy finds out that he has a grandson?
Mm-hmm. Oh, see, I forgot about that too. Hmm.
So
We got a lot of fun coming up this episode.
yeah,
There's a lot of
it
different storylines, and I'm curious to see where we go with them all. So,
Black Noir is going to have to pay off.
yeah.
Um, but he hasn't gotten to everybody yet, right?
Mm-mm.
He's
I
gotten
think
to
Black Noir's the last one, isn't he?
is he? Because he got the twins.
Got the twins. We got the
He
Mind Guy. We got Crimson
got,
Countess.
yeah. So we got those four.
I
Black
think,
Noir would be five. That yeah, I
and
think
then he was
that's
Soldier Boy 6. So, because we got uh, I guess 7 was the his sidekick that got killed off early on in the show.
yeah, gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, dude, this. I don't know where we're going this next episode. I really don't want this show to end. I absolutely love it, and I think 8 episodes is too short, but we're still getting 2 more seasons of the show, and they continuously be bangers, and I'm all for it. We'll get, I think, with them filming starting in August, which I'm about to talk about. I think that we're getting close to. I think it will be next year because 2020 was when they were filming season 3, and it's 2022 now, and COVID did everything. So I don't think it's gonna be that long until we get another season with them filming so soon. But
A year after filming.
oh god, I love it. I love this show. All right, quick news stories here. Like I was just talking about, Carl Urban says The Boys season 4 begins filming in August. I'm going to Collider.com by Marco Vito Odo. We've barely recovered from Herogasm in season 3. The Boys will still have 2 more episodes to air at this point of this article. But star Carl Urban has already revealed that The Boys season 4 is set to start shooting soon. In an exclusive interview with Collider for Netflix's animated film The Sea Beast, Urban sharing The Boys while getting back together. Quote, "Yeah, we're starting, I think, August the 22nd. We're going to be starting season 4, so I'm getting my butcher back on, and I can't wait. It's a fun game to play with. We work hard and play hard, and I can't wait to see where they take the characters from where we leave them at the end of this season." I'm all for it. Bring it on. So, then we have here, my next news story here, kind of little weird businessy news. I thought that'd be kind of fun to put this in since our show's on the CW. Nexstar will acquire 75% of the CW channel. I'm going to the Wrap.com by Brandon Katz. Several months after reports first surfaced that local television station owner Nexstar Media Group was interested in buying the CW network, it appears the company is close to acquiring a majority stake in the broadcasting channel. Nexstar is nearing a deal to acquire 75% of the CW, with parent companies Paramount Global and Warner Bros. Discovery each retaining 12.5% ownership stakes, according to the Wall Street Journal. Representatives for the CW, Nexstar, Paramount Global did not immediately respond to our questioning. Nexstar is expected to assume the majority of the CW's current losses, which could amount to more than $100 million per the outlet. While the deal is not yet done, an official pact could be reached in the next few weeks. Nexstar is said to be planning to acquire shows from outside producers, while Paramount Global and Warner Bros. Discovery continue to create content for the broadcast network. Both parent companies will reportedly continue to receive revenue from previously established licensing agreement, such as the CW's ongoing relationship with Netflix. And then it goes on to say, Nexstar is the country's largest broadcaster and already owns the majority of CW affiliate stations. Assuming operational control of the younger skewing broadcast network, which often fails to turn a profit, will enable the company to reap the licensing rewards that come with selling content to streaming services and overseas buyers. Nexstar is expected to broaden the CW's programming to appeal to older audiences, Wall Street Journal has reported. Interesting. Especially that last bit, that they're wanting to do more older stuff. So,
yeah,
that's so they acquire all the losses as well with this buy. So it's weird.
I'm curious what type of content they plan to have that is going to appeal to older audiences, because the CW tried their hand at the Dynasty reboot, which would have brought in an older audience because they saw the original. It didn't go well.
We got Walker as well.
Walker, which I think is doing a little bit better. But I don't know that it, 1 or 2 more years maybe?
Right.
So
this is a weird story. I thought it popped up in my newsfeed on Twitter, and I was like, huh. And because like the way that they worded it, the tweet worded it was that Nexstar is going to buy the CW, but it also buys their $100 million debt or lost debt that they're in right now. And I'm like, that's interesting. Why would you do that? But
the network that kind of skews older at this point is CBS, and they have a lot of the shows like Blue Bloods and NCIS and all the NCIS shows.
Right.
A lot of those shows have an older audience. That's the audience the CW is going to go for. So do they go heavy syndication and try and get syndication packages with those shows to fill out some nights and then have 2 hours of original programming per night? Or, I mean, how do they balance that?
Right. Guess we'll find out. This is kind of keep our close eyes on for the next couple of weeks to see what happens with it.
Yeah.
Next thing I have here, Talkville, the new Smallville rewatch podcast, is almost here. I'm going to comicbook.com by Russ Berland Game. Smallville stars Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum will launch Talkville, a Smallville rewatch podcast, next month. Debuting on July 13th, the series will take a look back at Smallville from the beginning. hosted by the actors who play Clark Kent and Superman, and Lex Luthor. The format has been popularized in recent years by series like The Office, Lays, and Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which I have fallen off of, which take fans behind the scenes of The Office and Scrubs, respectively, with actors from the series being your guide to the stories that shaped your favorite TV shows. It goes on to note, again, Smallville premiered in 2001 on the CW. So I am all in excited for this. It's going to cut into my TV watching time, but I'm going to stick with it and see how it is. I really, really, really like Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, so he has the format down. And Tom Welling's been on numerous episodes of that, and they're really good friends still. So I expect this will be a good show if you like Smallville, because they're going to be talking about it a lot. Because Tom Welling has not seen a lot of these episodes since they've aired, and they're going to have behind the scenes stuff, and I can't wait to watch them.
Two things. First, I would love um if we got cameos from these two on Superman and Lois. Just
I
like they're on a
wish,
road trip
yeah,
through Smallville and they just stop and you get like a quick
little
cameo.
somehow little
Um,
mention of something that'd be great. That'd actually be really good.
Second, I wonder how into the weeds they're going to get about some of the stuff that's happened with their co-stars.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've also said that some people are going to be coming onto the show. So
Yeah, but some people are in prison,
yeah, some
so
people will obviously not make any
I'm just
appearances.
curious if they'll talk about that because it was going on. Was it going on while the show was
Yeah,
being filmed?
there's throughout different seasons of it. So
Hmm.
it was definitely going on.
So it would be interesting to.
We will see. Um, Releases this week, Wednesday, July 6th. Big Brother comes back on CBS, and I am so extremely excited. I think I'm even to the point I'm going to get Paramount Plus just to watch the live cams this season, just to see if it's worth
Just
it.
so you can sit there and stare at people without them knowing you're watching.
I mean, yeah, that's what Big Brother is. And, it's in the title, Chris. I can even have it up while I'm working on one of my monitors here. Just have the live feeds up on one
You
computer.
you you don't have
Oh,
a
God.
toilet bowl cam like on Hero Gasm, do
No,
you?
God, no. Come on,
Okay.
Chris. All right, movies. Over to you.
All right. Have you watched anything else this week?
Yes, I watched Thor
Yes.
Ragnarok in anticipation next week's movie. And let me tell you, they hit gold. Taika Waititi hit gold with this
Yeah.
character. And I love it. I absolutely, it's still one of my top favorite MCU movies. It's just so funny. It's so well done.
It is. It is really good.
So,
Um, Real quick, we talked about it before the show. I'm not going to be able to make. Normally, we try and see these movies together.
right.
I'm not going to be able to make it, so I do plan to still see it before we record next weekend. Um, be kind of curious because we'll have two different experiences
Mm-hmm.
to talk about, and
One
I'll have to
opening
go on
night.
the weekend, and
Yeah.
you're going open at night. So, all right, this week's movie, The Man from Toronto. Um, it, on one hand, I don't feel it's very spoilery, but there are a couple of twists and turns, so I'm just going to do a very brief synopsis. Uh, Kevin Hart plays Teddy, uh, who is a failed internet athletic instructor, I
Yeah,
guess,
failed internet
fitness expert.
idea, fitness. Yeah, very
You
different.
get a few of his ideas at the very beginning. He almost knocks himself out with a pull-up bar. Um, he has taken an agreement with a local gym to not only come up with an exercise routine for them, which I don't know why they did. So this was one thing that I didn't get. They had him being criticized for the boxing routine that he came up with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is basically, for all intents, it's sparring without a partner.
Right.
It's kind of like Tybo. It's kind of like Tybo. I mean, this is what Billy Blanks does. So why they thought it wouldn't work was weird. Um, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But he has put together an ad campaign with flyers for the gym and neglected to put either the phone number or the address of the gym on the flyers, so no one
It's so dumb, dude.
can. It's just so he gets fired um, from this gig, but he's planned this great getaway weekend with his wife. They're gonna get a cabin. He's gonna drop her off for a spa day for like 2 or 3 hours while he goes to the cabin and gets it ready. He's actually doing something right, you know, except his printer was low on toner, so he can't
Hmm.
see the exact address for the cabin. He guesses he's at the right one, and he's actually at the one that the man from Toronto is supposed to meet someone at about a job. The guy inside waiting thinks that Kevin Hart is the man from Toronto. And as happens in stuff like this, he begins to kind of BS his way through it
Hmm.
just to survive. And the man from Toronto then actually does, which is played by Woody Harrelson, um, does get involved, and he kind of picks up on the fact that something's fishy. So he keeps letting Teddy go out there as him,
Hmm.
and starts helping him behind the scenes. They develop a kind of like a buddy cop type
I
bond,
love it.
and Kaylee Cuoco plays Kevin Hart's wife's best friend, who apparently ends
Way
up.
underutilized, if we're going to be
Yeah,
honest here. Way
yeah,
underutilized.
absolutely. She ends up apparently having a thing with Randy, which is the name that they assigned to the man from Toronto.
Hmm.
Um, that's, I mean, that's basically the plot. They go through all these scenarios, getting to all these different meetings and surviving this and that attempt on their lives, and until they seemingly bring the whole thing down. The FBI is involved because they
Hmm.
catch Teddy at the cabin, and he's like, "I'm not this guy," and they said, "Believe me, we know.
Yeah, we already know.
You're you're not this guy. We got it." Um, but they do eventually bring everything about this syndicate to the ground, and um, the fun is in the journey. I thought this was okay. Um, 2.5 stars for me
That's
out of
exactly
five.
where mine was. I'm sitting there putting it in
And
right now.
it's just I like Woody Harrelson. I like when he plays these offbeat kind of characters, and this one is certainly offbeat. Uh, the opening scene is fantastic with him. Um, he's really good. You know, we saw him twice recently with the Now You See Me movies.
Yes, phenomenal in
Um,
that role too.
of course, I grew up watching him on Cheers, and then uh, films like Natural Born Killers. Interestingly enough, Woody Harrelson's father in real life was a hitman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. In fact, he claims to this day that his father uh, revealed to him that he was one of the shooters in Daley Plaza that took
Mm,
out Kennedy. Um, he apparently did some very high profile jobs over the years.
right.
So, yeah, that's a whole thing. You can read up on it. I think his name was Charles Harrelson. Um,
I might have to add that to my reading list,
yeah, just check
research
it out.
list.
It's kind of interesting. Uh, but like you said, Tyler, Kaylee Cuoco not in the movie enough at all. She's in about 3 scenes, I
And
think.
they have
She's in.
her like listed as one of the big stars of the movie. They go Kevin Hart, Woody Harrelson, Kelly Cuoco. So I'm like, okay, she's gonna be somehow big or related in this. Nope.
Right.
It just kind of
I I thought at first once it becomes clear pretty quick that the FBI is involved.
mm-hmm,
I thought she was going to be
a part
like
of
the
it all.
head agent
Yeah, that's
or
what I was
something
thinking.
like that, or she would be the one that
The handler.
the man, yeah, the handler.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Nope. Just kind of a throwaway
she's
character,
just
honestly.
yeah,
So
pretty much. And I don't know.
yeah.
It's all right. It's a fun watch. I
That's
mean,
where I'm at. It was a good movie. Not great, not excellent, not bad, awful. I mean, I liked it. Some of the jokes hit. Some of the jokes did not land for me. The I think the funniest scene I laughed the hardest at was the plane scene was pretty funny, but
Yeah,
the cabin scene is what had me rolling with the kerosene cans
yeah.
exploding, blowing them through into the car, his car exploding. Just the stupid physical comedy like that had me laughing. But there were
The
some good
first
moments.
thing I the first thing I thought about the plane scene was, all right, this is the budget version of the Uncharted plane scene.
Yes,
This is because it's they're out the back, they're in the breeze, he's fighting, he's got to try and get back in. Yeah, it was kind of that. Yeah, it's if you're looking for something with some humor and some action to just
just to kind of
unplug
have
for
on.
the night,
Yeah,
it's good. I don't know. So originally, Jason Statham was set to play the man from Toronto, not Woody Harrelson.
that
Um,
would have been okay.
and I think the creator, it's the same guy that did the Hitman's Bodyguard,
Yes.
and I think he has said that he's wanting these to be in the same universe and maybe get the characters involved with one another. Um,
Is Kevin Hart? Who's the Hitman's bodyguard? I know Samuel L.
uh,
Jackson.
I'm drawing a blank,
Ryan Reynolds.
but yeah.
Okay.
So Kevin Hart is he's almost how am I gonna say this? He's almost at the Will Ferrell stage for me,
Yes.
where it's like I need him in small doses when he's acting the way he acts for most of this
Yeah.
movie. It's
He's got a
like if he's
certain movie set that he does,
yeah,
and yeah. Oh, I'm with
his
you.
when he's performing his shtick like he is in this, and like you see in some of the commercials that he does, I can't deal with it for a whole movie.
Yeah.
It bothers. Woody Harrelson's a great balance to that. Um, because Woody Harrelson can just be very stoic and
Right.
very serious and balance it out reasonably well. Um, but in general, it's one of those that if this had been Kevin Hart by himself, I would probably have graded this
Mm-hmm.
at Thunder Force levels.
Yeah. They played off each other really well.
Yeah.
And the whole time I keep seeing Woody Harrelson, though, I was like, yeah, I really want to Now You See Me 3. That'd be great. Just anytime, guys. Anytime y'all want to start working on that, I'm okay with it.
And Kevin Hart does really well when he's in something with Dwayne Johnson too,
Yes,
because it's kind of that
those
same.
two play really well off of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you know, then you have folks like Chris Rock. He Will Smith plays well off him,
Yes,
but
good duos there.
their slapstick is amazing. Uh, but no, definitely check it out. It's on Netflix. It's only been out now for a little over a week,
hmm
like a week and a half, which is why I don't really want to get into everything because there's still a lot of people that probably want to check it out that haven't. Um, but definitely worth a watch. Like I said, 2.5. You said you're right there. So let's see. Thor, Love and Thunder is our um, next film.
hmm
I'm excited. We're gonna see what they do with Jane, and
I'm
I'm
very
wondering,
curious to see what they do with Jane.
yeah, because in the comics she has cancer,
hmm
and when she's Thor, it like halts
Well,
the
because
cancer.
Thor is no longer Thor in the
Right.
comics, because he loses his hand, becomes unworthy, and Jane takes up the mantle. I think actually he becomes king of Asgard, and he's no
hmm
longer Thor. So I want to read those comics eventually, but
But when she's not Thor in the comics, she goes back to being sick. Um, so it's very interesting. I'm not sure if they'll go with that exact storyline.
right. But
In the news, Halo Dune Part 2 has has been delayed to November 17th, 2023. Anytime I see delayed, I just assume it's a Halo story.
Yeah.
Um,
Flashbacks. I actually
yeah,
just read too the earlier before we start recording that they start filming this week. So,
yeah.
which is, I guess that makes sense since they're delayed. I wonder what happened there.
I don't know.
Probably nothing too crazy, but no big deal.
Maybe the same people running Superman and Lois are doing Dune too.
Heyo.
Uh, all right, next up from Thomas Manning over at CBR.com. That's comicbookresource.com. Doctor Strange 2 crushes Eternals and sets an impressive MCU Disney Plus record. New data reveals Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has set a viewership record on Disney Plus. According to Samba TV, 2.1 million households in the United States watched the Sam Raimi directed MCU film within its first 5 days on Disney's streaming service. This bests the previous record for an MCU film held by The Eternals, which was viewed by 2 million U.S. accounts across the same time frame in January 2022. And Tyler, you shot me a photo. Not that kind. Get your minds out of the gutter, people. Um, so Doctor Strange was at 2.1, The Eternals at 2, Shang-Chi at 1.7, and Black Widow at 1.1. And it's kind of interesting. I think Doctor Strange is just based off popularity.
Yeah.
Black Widow, I think, was low because more people, that was right when we could get back in theaters, and I think
Mhm.
people wanted to get out and see it, so they saw it there. Shang-Chi, fewer people were familiar with, so they probably hedged their bets and watched it on Disney
Yeah.
Plus. The Eternals, I think a lot of people just didn't know what to think of it, so
Yeah.
they
Just
waited for
didn't
it.
even want to go see that in theaters.
Right. Doctor Strange, I think, was more. I wonder how many of those people would say it was a rewatch.
Right.
Like, I saw it in theaters and then I caught it as soon as it hit streaming.
I know my oldest daughter needs to watch it, but we're outside that 5 day window because she didn't go with us that night. She was sick. So,
Well, she should have been watching it night one. It should have
see,
been.
you gotta have to have that dedication. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let me see here. That's all the news that I've got. Um, but I closed my app and I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
So,
We got Thor:
so
Love and Thunder this week, July
yeah,
8th.
that's it.
Yeah.
Just Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's a biggie.
Right. It's gonna be exciting. I can't wait. Christian Bale, I've heard, is a very good villain, which we know he would be.
Yeah, that's something I actually wanted to talk to you about because we actually got um, a lot of people were very concerned when the toy, the image of the toy for Gore the God Butcher came out, the action figure, and they were like, "Oh, is this what he's going to look like?" Now we've seen him since. Um, it's just you don't second guess Marvel until you've seen how it plays out
Right.
because they can only do so much with an action figure. He looks phenomenal in this movie. And I think one thing, I don't think we've really tossed any theories out there as far as we know that we're most likely going to get mid-credit and post-credit scenes.
Hmm.
So where do you think they go with those?
I don't, because I don't know what. It depends what they do during the film, as far as they're gonna have to do something Guardians of the Galaxy wise,
Yeah.
because Chris Hemsworth is in a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, just like they're in a little bit of this. So I don't.
Hmm.
It just depends where they go with that. If they're a part of the post or mid credit scene, or mid credit or end credit scene. So I don't know where they go with that. I'm curious, and this was something I meant to put in there, and I'm sorry I forgot to put this in there. So I'm on the direct.com. This is by Lauren Rouse. In an interview with Preen Scenario, Christian Bale's talked about working with other Thor: Love and Thunder cast members. After praising Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, and Tessa Thompson's performances, Bale also revealed that he got to work with MCU stars Peter Dinklage and Jeff Goldblum. However, the actor said those scenes are not in the final film, even though it was beautiful, brilliant stuff. He says, Quote, Taika just created a really, really good cast, and everybody else I'm not mentioning as well. I got to work with Peter Dinklage, that's not in the final film, but I got to work with him. He's fantastic. I also got to work with Jeff Goldblum. He's not in the final film either. As you see, lots of stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, even though it is beautiful, brilliant stuff.
So
It'll be in
that
the deleted
kind of
scenes, but
that kind of made its way out because there were other articles this week, and I didn't think to pull these either. Lena Headey from Game of Thrones
mm-hmm.
was cast in this film. She had scenes with Peter Dinklage and Jeff Goldblum.
Right.
And the reason it made news is her former agency wants payment for her getting these roles, even though she says they weren't involved in setting those particular roles up.
Mm.
But that's what got it out there. So I'm wondering, could these be mid and post credit scenes? The reason
Mm.
they're not technically in the film.
Right. That cut from the main film, see? Oh, that's good questions, Chris.
It seems a little expensive to bring these people in,
Right.
only to cut the characters.
I don't think we get a Thor death either, because a lot of people were warning, oh, they're gonna bring Jane in and kill Thor off, and she's gonna be the new
Well, no,
Thor.
'cause he's in Guardians 3.
Right. Well, that, and also he said, I'm gonna keep playing him as long as they keep wanting me to do it. He says, I love this character, and he goes, I can do this for the rest of my life and be okay with it, which is different than our other main cast of the MCU, like with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. They both were saying, my time's up, it's up, and everything. But Chris Hemsworth is like, I want to do this forever. Same thing with
Yeah.
Tom Holland. Well, Tom Holland said, I want to do it, but once I reach a certain age, I don't want to do it anymore. It's time to pass it on. So,
Right.
but
Because
Thor's like,
Spider-Man's
no.
a young.
Yeah, Thor's like, no, I'm gonna do it forever.
Well, because of the way the mythology works, they could transition him to being King of Asgard
Right.
and still keep him in the movies.
Keep him king of the cruise lines.
So there you go.
So we'll see what happens, man. I'm really excited about this one, just because of how great Thor Ragnarok was, and Taika Waititi is a special human being, and he's quickly becoming one of my favorite story directors and things like that. Especially after seeing The Gentleman, what's the HBO Max show? Our Flag Means Death. So good.
Mm.
He's so good in that show. We don't have anything video games wise. Chris and I have been playing our same games and things like that. So no news, no new releases for that way. So that ends up with our show. Superman and Lois is done for the year. We've got one last episode of The Boys and 2 episodes left of Miss Marvel. And then we don't have any shows to talk about. So Chris and I are doing things on the back end, throwing around shows we're going to review and how we want to review them. But we'll let you know as soon as we solidify some plans. Sneak peek, though, we're kind of looking at Agent Carter for a little bit of rewatch and review. I have not seen any of the episodes. Chris has, so it'll be a nice little tie-in, especially with Doctor Strange and her and What If and everything. So should be a good one. That's one we're talking about. If you got any suggestions, you can comment on this video on either your podcasting app or on YouTube, or send us some messages on Twitter. On Twitter, you can follow us on social media at Nerdwide, at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes. You can follow Chris at MFTN7. On Facebook, just search in Nerdwide. You don't even have to search in nerdwide.com anymore, or you can even search in Nerdwide Podcast. Either one, whichever way you want to do it. We're the first ones that pop up, and you can comment on this podcast link if you want to let us know what you want us to do or talk about, or while we have this little bit of break between shows before, I guess, Titans and She-Hulk are our next couple of shows that should be coming out soon. Titans, I don't know when that's going to happen, but She-Hulk will be sooner.
Yeah, and like
So,
we've said before, we're still waiting to hear about Doom Patrol and
yep.
Invincible.
Oh, they haven't even started either one of those yet. So
Yeah.
I think those sound like they're gonna be 2023 projects. So they haven't even started filming yet. So
I'd be good with spring of 23.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be fine with that. So, but guys, thank you all so much for listening and watching. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms. And don't forget to rate and review us on whatever podcasting app you are using. But guys, that's been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you have a safe and great July 4th, and we will see you next week.